everyone, welcome for the class. Today we shall see what are the challenges faced by the cloud. Though there are many advantages provided by the cloud, still there are some challenges associated with this one. As we have already known that the cloud, it exists between the consumer and the provider. Now both the people are facing the problems, or I can say the challenges. So let's see that what are the challenges faced by the consumer, and also let's study the challenges faced by the providers. The first one is challenges that are being faced by the consumers. The foremost is the protection of the data of any consumer. As we already have seen that everywhere the data is getting compromised. We are seeing in a day-to-day news also that the data is being compromised with the Facebook, even the WhatsApp data is being compromised. So here, as the data of any user is important, it has to be protected. So the confidentiality of the data matters for any user. So the cloud service provider has to make sure that the data is protected, it is safe, it is secure. And the another challenge the consumer is going to face is, as already been stated, that the data is being deployed on the data centers and they are not being located in a particular geographical location. It can be deployed at the multiple data centers. Now, and also at the same time, the data is being replicated. It becomes difficult to identify that where the data is being stored, and it might lead to the unavailability of the data whenever there is a increase in the load. So using of these multiple data centers, it is going to increase the unavailability of the data whenever the data fails or the load is more. And whenever the consumer also may request, so they need to wait for the data to be available. It has to be fetched and then given back. If in case the data is not being replicated, and again there is a loss of the data. Now whenever the consumer is going to request the data, he has to request via the network. Now there might be a network latency. That means there is a delay in the data to be received by the consumer. It can be because of the increase in the response time, or there might be a timeout. For example, it may so happen that you are looking for the data from your own cloud, but you are unable to get that one. It is because of the network latency. Here network latency is because you are not getting the data very closer to the access point you are requesting. So the service agreements that has to be done, the consumer has to make sure that they are being providing the services as requested by the consumers, and they have to make sure that whenever a consumer is requesting the data, it should be available and also it should be secure. The cloud service provider can't say that the data is not available at this particular period of time. And the next one is that the main problem associated with this one is sometimes the cloud platform services may not support the consumer's desired applications. There are so many applications that is being requested by the consumer which may not support. Okay, so this happens usually because the systems, there may be an interoperability issues, because of which the hypervisors or the virtual machines migration will be very difficult. And the last challenge that the consumer is going to face is vendor lock-in. So what does this vendor lock-in is? The difficulty for the consumers to change their cloud service providers. This is because he may not be able to move to the another cloud service provider because of the APIs, or it might create a huge complexities, or there might be, whenever they are moving from one cloud to the another cloud, there might be increase in the cost also. So very simple examples if I have to mention you people is, in case you are using Amazon Prime services, if in case you want to move to any other channel, for example is Hotstar, Disney and all, so whenever you're moving to subscribe any particular channel, they might increase the cost. There is nothing like decrease in the cost, there might be increase in the cost, and sometimes you may not be getting those services that you have been requesting. So these are the challenges that are being faced by the consumers. Let's look into the challenges that are being faced by the service providers. The service providers, they have to look into the service level agreements, so that the consumers know each and every service provided by the cloud, what is the quality being provided, and what will be the downtime or any legal or regulatory causes. We people are so having less time, we always say that there is a less time with us, we are running out of the time, where we don't read any of the service level agreements. We just go on next next next, or we just click on yes 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 and then we install. So we never read all the legal and the regulatory clauses. So I request you people, before you install any of the applications from the cloud, please do read the service level agreements. And if in case the service level agreements are not being properly followed by the consumers, there might be the heavy penalty. So IBM is using their cloud, and if you are crossing the particular storage, then they are going to cost a lot of money for the usage of that one. So please read these service level agreements, or else you have to pay a lot of money for those people. And as these are not being read properly by the consumers, so this is going to create a lot of problem, because of which they might not come back, and they are not going to use those services. And even many softwares, uh, especially whenever we are looking into the software, we are talking about the model, that is licensing model. So the providers should make sure that the softwares, whatever is being provided, it is ready for the cloud, and the license is also being available. Many a times the softwares they have been using, they should be standard one. It is not like pirated versions. The cloud has to make sure they are all licensed versions of the software. So in case these licensed versions are being there, it is again going to create the complexity, so with the vendors who are been developing and who are using that. So the providers, the service providers have to look, or they have to resolve this issues of license. And also they have to make sure the APIs they have been using, they have to be also resolved with the particular agreements. Many a times these service providers are going to face these agreement issues. So these are all about the challenges that are being faced by the providers, the service providers. So we need to make sure that any services we have been using, we should be clear with the terms and the conditions. So before we use any services, we have to be clear from the consumer and even at the service providers also. Thank you.